This is an issue that the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, calls an urgent threat. And that is a new kind of disease that's out there, and it's a disease caused by a new kind of microbe. We're used to viruses and bacteria, and with respect to bacteria, we're familiar with the idea that all of the antibiotics we've been taking and giving to our farm animals and, pouring in our farm fisheries, or fishery farms, and other things have been creating antibiotic resistance out there. And we're all familiar with the idea that there is MRSA, methicillin-resistant staph infection, and other things that are out there that are resistant to medications that we have. But now we've got something new that's resistant that we really haven't dealt with before, and that's a fungus. A fungus that you as a human being can contract that is now resistant to drugs and medication, kind of like MRSA is. Now, what's a fungus? I mean, think about mushrooms. So if you think about this, it is pretty gross, but if you were to get a fungus into your body, what you're actually doing is you're actually growing mushrooms and other fungus. Have you ever seen a loaf of bread with the hair that grows out of it and stuff? You're actually doing that inside your own body.
What do we have to do to get this?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Pat George, because apparently it's quite common at hospitals. Now, what's interesting about this is this particular kind of fungus, which is called Candida auris. That's A-U-R-I-S, Candida auris. And the auris means it's an ear fungus. That's where it started out, like audio or audible. It comes from that same Latin root, and it relates to this is an ear fungus. So that's where it started. The first case of this ever seen in the whole world that we knew about was in 2009 in Tokyo, where about a 70-year-old Japanese lady came in, and she actually had this fungus in her ear canal.
Ear fungus, not to be confused with ear virus.
Correct. Not an ear virus, but an ear fungus. And this one's a nasty one. I mean, the CDC calls it, and I'm quoting now, a creature from the Black Lagoon. They say it bubbled up and now it's everywhere. So it just came, the first case we ever heard of this, first time we ever discovered this ear fungus was in 2009 in Tokyo. And since then it's swept through a hospital in Valencia, Spain, a neonatal unit in Venezuela. It's majorly spread throughout India and Pakistan. It's also spread through South Africa. It's even in the UK, where they had an outbreak at one particular hospital called Royal Brompton, and it caused them to have to shut down their ICU, the intensive care unit, for 2 weeks, 2 full weeks. They had more than 50 cases in this outbreak. It actually turned out to be 72 cases in the outbreak there in the UK. And the problem that they have, as you learn, and this was just written up in the New York Times recently, so there's a fantastic article, it'll probably take you a half an hour to read it, though, with a lot of detail on this, but they're having a really hard time once this particular fungus gets established in a hospital room. It's almost impossible for them to get rid of it because it apparently will grow on literally anything in the room, and it gets into all the little crevices and everything else. So at the British hospital, they came in and they basically used hydrogen peroxide vapor, and they sprayed it all over the rooms, and it goes in all the little cracks and crevices, and that was able to kill everything in the room, but it didn't get rid of this particular fungus. So they put a little plate to check if they'd gotten rid of all the microbes in the room. They put that in the center of the room, and the fungus started growing again on the medium in the plate. So they knew they hadn't gotten rid of it. Now, just in case you were wondering, this has made it all the way to the United States now. And this is now something that you can find throughout New York and New Jersey, also throughout Illinois, and our very own state of Florida. We're one of the lucky handful of states in the U.S. where this has actually been documented to exist. In fact, last May, there was actually an elderly man in Brooklyn who was admitted to the hospital for abdominal pain, and he was found to be fully colonized with this already. So he didn't pick it up from the hospital, we don't think. He picked it up somewhere out in his environment in Brooklyn, New York. It fully colonized his body, and then when he went in for surgery, they realized, hey, we can't do surgery on you because, you've got this terrible candida infection it wound up killing him. So, and it basically kills about half of the people that it infects.
But we're not hearing a lot about it.
You're not hearing anything
Oh,
about
we
it.
will in about 3 weeks, a month. He's always about that far ahead.
Well, and the thing is, when you have an outbreak at a hospital or something like that, you'd think it would be front page news. But as you learn when you read about this UK hospital outbreak, they actually suppress the information. They don't announce it. There's no requirement that they tell the public, hey, we've got an ongoing outbreak of a medication-resistant fungus here that could kill you if you bring yourself and check yourself into our hospital. They don't do any of that. They keep it totally quiet. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.